It's the beginning of April, which means that it's time for a new Our Fantasy board. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brie and this is 4 Paws in a Book. We aren't going to talk about how badly I did at Our Fantasy this year. I mean, we can talk about it. Here's the board. Here's what I did. Not great. I didn't submit it or anything. But that's what I did. And I think that this might be like the worst that I've ever done with Our Fantasy. So we're going to try again with this year's board, with this year's prompts. And let me tell you, these are a little difficult. These ones I think like are probably the hardest that I've done. I don't know. Well, we're just going to go through it. I have decided I'm not going to do hard mode this year. I have tried to do hard mode every single time. This is my 4th year trying to fill out a board, and I've always tried to do hard mode and I never succeed. So I made up my own rules this time. I'm doing my own hard mode, and that is that I am going to try to fill this with 100% Romantasy. I am definitely in my Romantasy era right now. I know that a lot of my friends are as well, and so hopefully this will give some people a resource if you are also wanting to find some Romantasy books to put on this TBR. It's still a fantasy book, so it still counts, but because of that, I'm not going to be doing hard mode, A, because sometimes that's impossible to do because the hard mode is like literally a horror book, but also it was just too hard to like find something that fit both prompts and also was a Romantasy. And I was struggling, I was getting upset, I was getting like frustrated with it. So that, you know what, screw the hard mode. If it works, it works. But let's just try to do Romantasy because that's what's giving me joy right now. And you know, if we don't end up doing Romantasy by the end of the year, that's fine. But that's the TBR we're gonna make. Let me scoot over here so that we can talk about it. We're going to go from left to right, top to bottom. That's how we're gonna do it. The first one is Knights and Paladins. The hard mode is like a character has to keep an oath or a promise. That's really hard to tell if it's going to hit hard mode or not. So I'm going to be putting on The Knight and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This comes out later this year, and it's one that has already gotten a ton of buzz. I still need to read One Dark Window. So I haven't read anything from Rachel Gillig, but this sounds really, really interesting. Kind of is giving like Witcher vibes, but make it Romantasy. I'm not going to talk about what every single book is just because we'll be here forever. But that's the first book that's going to go on my TBR. The next prompt is a hidden gem. So basically, I think it needed to have under 1,000 ratings, if I remember correctly. I'm calling this a hidden gem because this is actually an author that I found at the Romance Out West book convention that I went to a few weeks ago. This is a local Utah author. The book is Dawn of the Darkest Day by Casey Woodruff. This is a stunning cover, by the way, gorgeous. Yeah, I bought a hardcover. Like basically hadn't heard anything about the book and I was like, yep, I would like one of those. But as of filming this, it only has 395 ratings, so definitely still a hidden gem. Then the next prompt is published in the 80s. And here's the thing, I don't want to read a book that was published in the 80s. So this could be one that I end up like swapping a prompt out because you are allowed to swap one prompt out. There's very few rules to Our Fantasy, especially because I don't usually even submit this to Reddit. But the idea is that you can only swap out one prompt, like with a previous prompt, like previous board. You can only use an author one time, and like one book counts for one prompt. So that's basically it. Oh, and you can only do one reread. I don't remember if I have any rereads on here. I don't think I do. But here's the thing. I don't want to read a Romantasy that was written in the 80s. They're not going to be good. They're not going to be feminist. They're just not going to be good. So, I mean, if you can tell me a fantastic Romantasy that was written in the 80s, be my guest. I don't know, this one might be one that we swap out. The next one is High Fashion, and the hard mode is that the main character makes clothes or fibers. This actually will meet the hard mode. I'm going to be reading This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi. This is a YA Romantasy that has gotten kind of a resurgence recently. I know that there have been several bigger booktubers that have read this recently and really, really loved it. I know Becca from Becca in the Books read it, Erin from Booked and Busy read it, and so I came back on my radar. I haven't ever read anything from Tahara Mafi, and I know that like she's very well known for the Shatter Me series, but I'm gonna try this one first. We'll see what happens. Then the next prompt is down with the system. So they're taking down some sort of system. The hard mode being that it cannot be a governmental system. This is not gonna hit hard mode. Most romantasies, when there's a rebellion or something like that, they are taking down the governmental system, and this is definitely going to be the case. I'm going to be reading A Kingdom This Curse and Empty, which is the second book following A Court This Cruel and Lovely, and we kind of leave off with them infiltrating the castle, the kingdom, and trying to basically take it down. So definitely a governmental system, but like I said, we are not really aiming for hard mode this year. The next prompt is impossible places. Basically the idea is a setting that would break a physicist's brain. So think bigger on the inside, gravity doesn't work properly, something like that. The hard mode being that at least 50% of the book takes place in that impossible space. I actually had this book set for another prompt, and then as I was reading it, because this was one that I picked up at the very beginning of April, and it fit this prompt. And so because this one was definitely one of the harder prompts to find, I kind of moved it over here before I even made my TBR. So that is Hunt on Dark Waters by Katie Robert. This is a pirate romantasy. Our male main character is a pirate, like this magical pirate. They are basically in this pocket realm, which is bigger on the inside, and they constantly talk about the like ways that this shouldn't work, that like the ship that she's in is bigger than like when you saw it from a distance, kind of thing, bigger on the inside. So our male main character is the captain of a pirate ship. This crew is well renowned across the multiverse, really. And then our female main character falls into a portal. She's a witch. She falls into the portal and comes across these pirates. If you know Katie Roberts' books, you know it was a good smutty time. It was full of queer representation. Our female main character is a bisexual queen. It was not my favorite book from Katie Robert, but it was still fun. The next prompt is a book in parts. So part 1, part 2, part 3 kind of thing. The hard mode being that it needed to have at least 4 parts. I actually did not look and see if this one had 4 or more parts. So let me go check, but this one was on the list from Reddit. They're kind of helping me out occasionally with the Romantasy picks. But let me see if it'll hit hard mode. Never mind, I will find out as I'm reading it because it didn't have numbered parts. It's a countdown. But that is A Blood Mercy by Vila Roth. This is a vampire romantasy that was kind of taking book 2 by storm a year or 2 ago, and I didn't get on the hype train soon enough, so I would like to start this. This is a very long series, and I don't know that I can commit to the whole series, but I do want to try it, see if I like it. But the parts, while they are there, it just says like 36 days until the spring equinox, and I wasn't gonna like flip through every page and count the parts. We will find it out as we're reading. The next prompt is Gods and Pantheons. The hard mode being that it had to have multiple pantheons. And so this one I don't think is gonna hit hard mode because these are just Greek gods. But I'm going to be trying The Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Moss. This one is like a why choose Greek inspired mythology. There's trials and competitions. Like conceptually, this sounds like a fantastic book. Sounds like something that would be right up my alley. However, I've heard very mixed things about this, and a lot of people have DNF'd it, and so I'm worried, but I am gonna put it on the TBR. We will see how it goes. If not, I could probably use Burn of the Everflame if that one comes out in the near future. There are gods and like descendants and things like that. They are more fictitious, but like this could potentially work as well. The next prompt is last book in the series. Much like last year's was first book in a series, this one is last book in a series, with the hard mode being it has to be 4 or more books along. I'm actually going to be doing Shadow and Storms by Helen Scher. This is the 4th and final book in the Legends of Thesmar series, I believe is the series name. My Patreon and I are actually starting this in April, not this book, but this series in April with Blood and Steel. And so by August, we will have finished it. We are taking June off for the Amazing Readathon, but we're reading Blood and Steel in April, and then book 2 in May, book 3 in July, and book 4 in August. So this will be read by the end of the year. Then there is a prompt for a book club or read along. I do not have a book for this yet. If they do a romantasy, then I can use that. But this is basically that like you're supposed to participate in the Our Fantasy book club thing. And so that's, I don't know what they are yet. The next prompt is parents. And this was very hard to do as a romantasy because the idea is that it's supposed to be like the main character is the parent, and then hard mode is like the child also plays a main character or is a big part of the story. I don't know if this will fit it, but I'm going to be reading Between Wrath and Mercy by Jess Wisecup. This also was getting a lot of buzz last year as we were all going to a Polycon because this author was going to be there, and I did not get to read it. So I've heard mixed things, but we're going to try it, and like I said, it's one of the very few parental unit romantasies that I saw. This main character is 34, so like we love an older FMC, and her daughter gets kidnapped, and so our FMC is living in isolation with memories and grief as her only companion. She must do everything in her limited power and divine abilities to get the girl back. So I guess it does still play a pretty big role in the story. I just don't know if she's like an actual character. She is the driving force of the book though, so I don't know. I don't know if we can make that argument or not. Next up we have epistolary. So basically there are letters or notes or journal entries or things like that. Again, kind of hard to do finding a romantasy. My original thought was Divine Rivals, but I don't know that I really want to read that one. But as I was looking through the list, and specifically ones like for romantasy, someone mentioned Heart of Silk and Shadows by Lizette Marshall. This is actually the prequel novella to Court of Blood and Bindings that I was supposed to read during the Gala of Peace in March, and I didn't get to it, so I'm really glad that I didn't. But apparently our main characters write each other letters, so we're gonna count it. It doesn't count for hard mode, which is basically that the entire book is done in epistolary format, but that's okay. Next up we have published in 2025 with the hard mode being a debut, and I actually do have one of these. This is a book that I am very interested in. I talked about it in my anticipated releases, but that is Heir of Storms by Lauren Hamilton Murray. It is the start of a new romantasy trilogy. It is YA, but it says Red Queen meets Shadow and Bone, and I'm here for that. It has dangerous magic, forbidden love, and a cutthroat competition for the throne in an empire where crowns are not inherited, they are won. This comes out in June, and so I'm really hoping to get to it sooner rather than later, but this is a debut author, so there we go, hitting hard mode here. The next prompt is an author of color. This is where the hard mode will not work because it is a horror novel, and since I'm trying to do a romantasy, that does not work. But I would like to continue with Scarlett St. Clair's books. So A Touch of Darkness is the first one up. I really wanted to get to these at the end of last year, but I did not get to it. So we're going to put it on the list for this one, and Scarlett St. Clair is an Indigenous author. The next prompt is self-published, and then the hard mode is that it needs to have under 100 ratings or be a marginalized author. I do not have one for this yet, but I will be able to read something. I work with a lot of self-pub and indie authors. I don't foresee having a problem finding an author or a book that does have under 100 ratings because, like I said, I work with a lot of new authors, and so I'm not gonna put one here yet. Come back at the end of the year, we'll see where we're at. And then the next prompt is biopunk, and I don't have a book for this one. I looked, I tried to find one. Maybe it's because I don't understand what biopunk is, but it's basically like, you know, like altering body chemistry or like, you know, like biological elements or something like that. Actually, the one that would have worked really well was Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reed. Even though it's not like really a romantasy, but like it has romantic elements, so we could have stretched it, but I read it in March, so that didn't work. So I don't have a prompt for this one. Let me know if you can think of something. The next prompt is Elves and Dwarves, with the hard mode being that the main character is an elf or a dwarf. I'm going to be reading Flame and Sparrow by S.M. Gaither. I actually didn't know that she was an elf, but I have been corrected, and so this has been on so many TBRs, I need to read this one. The other one that I had originally on here was A Deal with the Elf King, and that one could potentially work as well, but both of those would hit hard mode because obviously the main characters are an elf. The next prompt is LGBTQ plus protagonist, with hard mode being that there is another marginalization that the main character shares. I have so many of these that could work. Honestly, I have like multiple on my pile of possibility list here in my spreadsheet. The Crimson Moth by Heather Walter would work for this. This is a sapphic Snow White retelling, I believe. Currency and Flesh by Heather Nix is another book that I have been dying to get to. This is a sapphic Hades and Persephone retelling, but also like throwing in The Fall of the House of Usher. Also, The Hells of Notre Dame is a book that has been on my TBR for way too long. And this is a sapphic Hunchback of Notre Dame retelling. And then also I could continue the Beast of the Briar series by Elizabeth Helen. I still have not continued the series. I have only read the first one. This is a poly romance, and there is male-male romances within the polycule. And so this would definitely fall under the LGBTQ+ umbrella. But the second one that I need to read is Woven by Gold. So yes, I have a lot. I also have a ton of recommendations too if you need those. Then the next prompt is 5 short stories, and then the hard mode being that you read the entire anthology. I don't usually love anthologies. I don't love short story collections. However, there is an author that I am working with that has her short story in this collection that just came out, and that is Bewitched Blooms. And so it's a bunch of different Romantasy authors. I don't think I'll read the whole thing because I went to go find it on Kindle and it is almost 2,000 pages long. So it's very large. But I could read 5 from here. Then we have Stranger in a Strange Land, with the hard mode being that the main character is an immigrant or refugee. I don't know that this one will hit hard mode, but I'm going to be reading Between Flames and Deceit by M.A. Frick. This is a book that the author sent to me and sounds fantastic, but it is an arranged marriage that like is a political marriage, and our main character is a mother of dragons kind of thing. And she has to go to this other land, and they are going to be getting married for like a political alliance, but they are from very different cultures and backgrounds and things like that. And also the prince isn't there when she has to go get married, and so it actually ends up being a romance between her and her future father-in-law. So fun age gap there. Then we have a new square that I actually like, I've never seen before, but it kind of was interesting, and that is to recycle a bingo square. So basically to find one from a previous board and fill that one out and basically to do the hard mode from that originally. So the first time that I tried to do our fantasy was 2022. So I went back to the 2021 board to see if there was anything that I wanted on there, and there was a perfect Romantasy one, and that is blank of blank and blank. So even back in 2021, we were making fun of that. The hard mode is actually blank of blank and blank. The easy mode was just like blank of blank or something like that. I'm gonna finally finish this trilogy and read Mother of Death and Dawn by Carissa Broadbent. Listen, I have put this off for so long that honestly, I probably have forgotten things that happened in this book, but I don't want it to end. I don't, but I need to finish this out, so we're going to put that on the board. Then we have Cozy SFF, with the hard mode being a new to you author. And listen, cozy fantasy is having its time in the sun right now, and I can appreciate that for the people that love it. I, however, am not one of those. I need stakes in my book. I need tension, and it's really hard to do that when it's cozy. However, this one, I at least have heard that it's funny, that it's humorous. That is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. I have not read from this author before, so it will be a new to you author. I don't know that I have super high expectations for this because, again, cozy fantasy is not my vibe, but we're going to try. The next prompt is a generic title, so it had to have one of these words in it. And here's where I think the creators of this bingo board were either like throwing the Romantasy readers a softball or making fun of them. I can't tell which, but the words that they wanted you to choose from were blood, bone, broken, court, dark, shadow, song, sword, or throne. Would you like to guess how many I've already used with books that I've already put on here? This many. It's a lot. So yeah, there's a lot of Romantasy books with this title. So I don't think I'm going to have a hard time finding a book for this. The one that I have on here is Blood Orange by Karina Halley. This is the book that I got in the Arcane Society box last month, and I have been wanting to try her books for so long, and I feel like this is a great opportunity to do that. This is kind of like a spooky Romantasy, so it might happen a little later in the year once we get closer to fall and the spooky season, but it is gonna happen. Then the next prompt is one that's kind of interesting. That is that not a book. And so they want you to watch a movie, watch a TV show, play a video game that also incorporates the SFF genre. And so this one, like, I don't know if there is a romantasy TV show or movie out there. We'll find something. However, I did just finish Silo. We finished the second season of it. I am upset that we got caught up. Because now we have to wait. I like it when I can binge a show. And yeah, anyways, we just finished that and it was fantastic. I did finish it after April 1st, so it does count in this. But we also might try to find a romantasy show. I mean, there's got to be something. Then the last one is pirates. I have picked up so many pirate romantasy books recently, and I don't know why. It's not normally a trope that I gravitate towards, but I would kind of like to continue the Everseas, I think, trilogy is what it's called. And so book 2 is The Everqueen by L.J. Andrews. I didn't love The Everking, but I would like to continue the series, and it's getting traditionally picked up, and so I would like to read it, and so I can, you know, do a review on it, or like as it's getting more hype again. And that's it. That is the 2025 Our Fantasy Bingo Board. Are you participating in it? Are you trying to get hard mode, or did you make your own challenge along the way? If you have any recommendations for any of these, specifically if they are romantasy, put them down in the comments below and we can use this as kind of a comment section, a recommendation section. And if you're not feeling chatty, do an emoji that is somehow related to pirates. If you do want to check out my last TBR for 2024, you can check it out right there. Like I said, it did not do well, but if you wanted to see it, you could. That's all I have for you today. If you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, there is a little button that you can do so down below the video. If you'd like to hang out with me more, the links to my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and my Patreon are linked in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!